Hello everyone, and welcome to the Nerdaissance presents OctoberJest! Woo!
Please welcome me, Joseph, please!
Who's ready for our first performer?
Woo!
That's what I like. Everybody, please welcome Glenn Peterson.
Make love to me, Glenn!
Now I'm just waiting for Joe to make a movie during which he hires a bunch of midgets and badgers them relentlessly so that eventually he might be able to say, "There! Don't put it past me!" Alright, my story is called Monsters Kink. No sooner had I mentioned the title than I was challenged by Joe to include a touching moment. Because it's, you know, it's a funny movie, it's a kid's movie, but then in the end, it brings a tear to your eye. I was challenged to bring a tear to Joe's eye. It's not that kind of story. So, if you want, I can like walk over and kick you in the balls afterward, but that's probably about the only way.
I'm into weirder things.
We'll talk later. All right. Looks like it's going to be a perfect day to work out that flab hanging over the bed. James P. Sullivan buried his face back into a pillow. I'm not a booger eater who's never heard your tired shit before, Mike. Get some new fucking material. Sully had indeed been woken up by the same routine from his roommate Mike Wazowski for years, but the increasing truth of the flab comment meant that Mike always amused himself with it. He had been particularly insufferable since word came down that he'd be hosting the Academy Awards again this year. But it probably wouldn't have bothered Sully so much if he didn't secretly feel so useless. It had been 15 years since the monster world had switched from scaring kids for scream energy to performing for laugh energy, and Mike still didn't miss any opportunity to remind Sully that he was now the breadwinner. And the whole ride into work, he couldn't help but rub in the fact that he was getting it on the reg. Celia and I have been together for 15 years. We need to experiment a little. Mix shit up, you know? I do. He didn't. But what do you think experimenting looks like when your girlfriend has snakes on her head? Foreplay involves live mice. My refractory period depends on anti-venom. The rest of the ride in, Sully tried his best to tune out Mike's explanation of where the name Smoochy Poo had come from. At least once work started, he'd be some kid's problem for a while. In typical form, Mike burst through the door into his first bedroom of the workday. Without pausing, he leaped up, trampolined off the bed, and landed with the bedpost jammed where he apparently had some form of sensitive genitalia. That bit had always brought big laughs, but Mike was greeted with silence. There was no one there. His monster balls only had so many hits like that in them, so to have wasted one on an empty room only added to the pain. He was about to return to the work floor when he heard an odd, faint sound. He cautiously eased open the door into the house's hallway, and the noise grew louder. Sully poked his head in through the closet door. "Mike, we just burst a tank out here. That hasn't happened since we upgraded from the old scream tanks to the laugh tank." Sully was now hearing the noise too. Chancing an encounter with adults was dangerous, but they had to figure out what was generating that much energy. They crept cautiously down the hall, clearing room by room until all that remained was the home's master bedroom. The act itself looked very different when performed by humans, but the smell was universal. He slumped back against the wall as realization dawned. Moans were way more powerful than screams or laughs when it came to generating power. The monster world had long ago increased energy consumption to meet and exceed the larger amounts of energy production gleaned from laughter. But there was simply no way monsters could reveal themselves to adults to get the noises. Adults had guns. Sully slid his paw over the scar from the last gunshot wound, the memory of mauling those who'd given it to him making his stomach sink. "You didn't have a choice," said Mike, almost reading his mind. "We couldn't allow everyone to find out we exist. We had to fake a meth lab explosion to hide all the evidence, Mikey. You don't do something like that when you didn't do anything wrong." They needed a way to harness this new power without risking everything. But they could worry about that later. For now, they had to get back out unseen. Sully was turning to leave when he caught sight of a flickering television. that humans having sex were watching video of other humans having sex. He read the DVD case cast aside on the floor. Gangbang Chalet, he read. These cock-hungry ski bunnies take it all night and come back for more, continued encouragingly. That's it. If Sully could find people who had lots of sex, he'd only have to reveal himself to 5 men and 2 women, and he'd have all the sex noises he needed. It didn't take long to see his way in. In the background of the scene that was playing was a cherry-stained 6-panel door with frosted glass and a brushed nickel Schlage lever handle. Sully could find that door and get some humans to moan for him. Back at Monsters, Inc., the new door acquisition department was not so optimistic. No kids, no door, he was told. And there is a distinct lack of children on the other side of this door that you want.
Let's hope so.
Let me get this straight, Sully said. I almost single-handedly changed our entire world from one of rolling brownouts because we couldn't systematically torment children fast enough to one of hedonistic excess and laughter, and I don't have enough sway to get, the clerk yawned. That was 15 years ago. I've heard it a million times. Sully didn't want to come to this, but I can get you Mike's autograph. That was it. Sully was sick that it had worked, but he had his door. He assembled his team of enforcers in case shit went wrong, plugged in the door, took a deep breath, and went through into the porn studio. Ah! Screamed the cameraman. Ow! Screamed the sound guy. Screamed the performers. Sully launched into his explanation before they could react. You may have trouble believing this, but we're monsters from another dimension who have to get human women to come as much as possible. Oh, I get it. Very funny, said the director, who was surprisingly calm. No, I'm not joking. Wait, are you all not, like, pants-shittingly terrified? Well, I'm not terrified, and they don't have pants. Whoever put you up to this was pretty dumb to think I wouldn't recognize the plot of my own movie. Movie? Well, movies. An American Werewolf and Paris Hilton, 2 Girls, 1 Horn, Cockzilla. Gig's up, so you may as well take off the costume. I can understand you thinking this is a costume, but this, Sully said, gesturing toward Mike. And he was right. If Mike were a costume, even Kenny Baker wouldn't have been able to rock that shit. The director walked over to Mike, examined him closely, and blinked. Mike blinked back. Oh my God! Yeah, there we go. I mean, oh my God! The director struggled to wrap his mind around what was in front of him, but very soon all he could see were dollar signs. What kind of payment do you want? We just need the girls to moan. That's all the payment we need. Let's do it, said the director. Well, that was fast, said Mike. Well, said Sully, you heard him. He's already done a few of these, and his titles are way better than mine. Monsters Kink, what the fuck was I thinking? You, Cyclops, let's see what you've got. Mike's eye darted nervously, but he stepped forward. Ecstasy, you're with him. The actors had all been frozen in fear since this had begun, but now swiveled to look at a blonde in their midst, exited her, and stepped back as if her poor fortune was contagious. The girl was trembling, but had clearly gotten the short end of a stick with her contract as she slowly complied. There was a lot of, hold on, maybe if you could give me a minute before Mike was finally able to do his thing. Ecstasy eventually made eye contact with a strange creature awkwardly pumping away on top of her. Her face was distortedly reflected in his giant eyeball, as if she were looking at her reflection in a swaying Christmas ornament. She couldn't touch him without fish hooking or eye gouging, so she settled on holding her ankles for the remaining 5 seconds of the ordeal. It was horrible, it was awkward, and Sully fucking loved it. Mike had long known from personal experience that Sully was better at sex than he was, but the world was about to find out. Your turn, Blue Baka, said the director. Asked to be on top, really, trust me, Mike said. Sully whipped out a cock that would have made a horse blush. Jaws dropped, but not nearly far enough. liked fleshlights than sex partners, and soon even the promise of becoming a big Hollywood star wasn't enough. Forget it, said Maserati. I've done some crazy stuff, but this is like getting fisted by Popeye. Find someone else. Sully was grinning ear to ear. His balls were already blue, so what did he care? He was gonna be a star again. Forget her, mate. That was amazing. Are there any more like you? Well, we're all a little different, Sully said, but there are millions of us. All right, show me. Sully led the director back through the door to the work floor and began the grand tour of Monsters, Inc. Mate, I don't know that you fully appreciate exactly what you have here. Well, these are just the door storage racks. DVD distribution hub. This is the old scream extractor that Randall built. Aim it 12 inches lower, it's a blowjob machine. And this is the training room. Bedroom film set, complete with an animatronic torso of a male child? Well, no age restrictions on robots. Now, what about the other monsters? Mike called over the nearest few monsters at random. The first had a tongue that lolled out the side of his mouth and stretched almost to the floor. Looks like I found my cunning linguist. Huh? Nothing. From the second monster sprouted several slimy tentacles. You there, how do you feel about Japanese girls? I love them, he replied, not picturing at all what the director had in mind. The director eyed the third up and down. Well, I'm afraid I don't have much use for you. That's fine, Ted's always sick anyway, said Mike. The monster named Ted sneezed. Huge ropey strands of white effluent spewed forth and quivered from Mike from horn to toe. Ah, it's in my eye. Perfect! Sully, bring these three back through the door tomorrow. We'll make the most moans in the industry. About your green friend? They looked at Mike, who was desperately trying to find more boxes of Kleenex. Oh, fuck Mike and his tear duct. We'll be there. Great. I know those girls earlier couldn't handle you, but I'll find some real dirty sluts for tomorrow. When the monsters came through the door the next day, the humans were shocked all over again, but for a different reason. What did you do exactly? Well, I was reading some magazines about how to be better at the sex, and they said a shaved crotch was really sexy. Somehow the director doubted the writers had realized what the result would be. Nestled in the center of a body otherwise covered in dense, wiry fur was an odd patch of lilac-covered, razor-bump skin. Not nearly as impressive while flaccid, nobody could pull their eyes away from the underinflated party balloon of a dick dangling sadly in the middle, nestled between two seriously 4-H-sized testicles, dotted with little squares of bloody toilet paper. Sully seemed blissfully unaware, grinning ear to ear and walking with an unmistakable swagger. Mate, we only got one girl willing to do it, so you'll have to take turns. She'll be good to go for the whole show, though, trust me. Since you're our, grand finale, we'll have everyone else go first and you can finish her off. His ego already inflated to wearing shades indoors levels, Sully said, yeah, probably a good idea. On the other side of the door, the Monsters, Inc. technicians were signaling they were ready. They had pallets and pallets of bone tanks lined up in anticipation. The human cameramen were a little more nervous, but also prepared to film one of the most depraved acts across 2 dimensions. And action! The tongue monster went first, then the tentacles, then the tongue again. Ted popped in whenever he felt a sneeze coming on, which turned out to be a lot. Then all 3 jumped in, and all 3 walked away exhausted after a few minutes. This was Sully's time to shine. All right, baby, you ready for this purple monster's purple monster? Sully swaggered up and flopped his cock on the prop couch with a satisfying thud. The girl looked up at Sully's face for the first time, and her eyes went wide.
Oh no.
Kitty?
Bless and curse you. Yeah, right?
did bring a tear to my eye just not in the right way.
Tears of rage.
No, that was great. Everybody give it up for Glenn one more time. That was great, and I thought I was going to be the most disturbing person here.